The City of Marine City Commission meeting is called to order on Thursday, August 3rd at 7 o'clock p.m. And can we get a moment of silence to send our positive thoughts and prayers to those in our community that need our support? And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And can I get roll call, please?
Commissioner Bryce.
Here.
Here he comes. Commissioner Hendrick.
Here.
Commissioner Hilfrank. Here. Commissioner Clausen.
Here.
Commissioner Rory.
Here.
Commissioner Ross.
Here.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Here.
City Manager Atkins.
Here.
Okay. And on to item 4, the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Support.
Okay. I have motion and a support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Public comment. Anyone is welcome to address the City Commission. Please state your name. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. The Commission will not respond, but we will follow up as necessary.
Catherine Warner, Main Street, Marine City. I'd like to address several things. First, I listened to the July 20th Commission meeting posted on CTV. The conduct and actions by one particular city commissioner were beyond disrespectful. They were unprofessional, and the commissioner comes off acting like he is Marine City. Since he's been on the commission, he has stirred up a lot of garbage and pushed a personal agenda with total disregard for businesses in Marine City. Because of this, his insistence on having a pot shop, or pot shops in Marine City, we are at risk of losing a movie theater and a tech business, both of which are frequented by families and children in our city and the surrounding communities. Marine City does not need a pot shop, period. Additionally, since becoming a member of the commission, this commissioner has been visited by the police at his residence at least twice because of domestic issues. If he can't keep his personal affairs in order, how does he think he knows what's best for the taxpayers of Marine City? Also, at the last commission meeting, this commissioner objected to the only candidate willing to fill the vacancy on the Community and Economic Development Board. The commissioner claimed it was because the candidate doesn't do business with people in the city. But everyone knows the real reason for opposition was the new CED board member's stance on pot shops in Marine City, which is neither here nor there, since that board does not have authority over the vote on the city matters. By the way, I happen to know the new CED board member, and I know he submitted his application and resume for the post in mid-April. I think his resume and career speaks for themselves. And while he currently doesn't have clients in Marine City area, he could. I mean, would the commissioner have objected to a candidate if he sat in the basement selling things on eBay to people who likely don't live in Marine City? Also during that discussion, that same commissioner seemed to take a swipe at the Marine City Chamber of Commerce, saying some businesses don't have representation in it. I'm here to tell you this, Commissioner. One, Marine City Chamber of Commerce is doing a phenomenal job promoting our city and its businesses. Any business is welcome to join the chamber and get involved. And 3, your new CE board member is a member of the chamber. Therefore, Marine City businesses are represented. Finally, the same commissioner on this Marine City complaint page on Facebook, you do know the city has complaint forms that you can file, right? Whine about the cost of a FOIA request And why would you whine about a cost of the FOIA requests that we have? Unlike various agencies of the federal and state governments, Marine City does not have designated departments to process FOIA requests. City employees have to use resources and spend time filling those requests that cost money. Also, those employees wear many hats. They aren't on social media all day stirring up problems or threatening to sue people. On a positive note, I'd like to give kudos to the Marine City manager and the DPW supervisor and all the employees who work for the taxpayers of Marine City. Thank you.
Anybody else? Rosalie?
Rosalie Squires, 211 Michigan. I live in Mariners Landing condos. I'm the longest residence there. In November, it'll be 27 years. Okay, I will say this. I don't know the whole story about what one commissioner and the police, his involvement, but I hear that it's a teenage daughter. And I had 6 foster kids that were teenagers. I raised one, and I had 2 stepdaughters that were teenagers. And you can't really, I don't know. My husband taught teenagers. I taught teenagers in a cosmetology school. I don't think to put that on the line about what's happening in his family, it really matters regarding our Marine City. But on the other hand, I really don't like that because, and I'm an old person, I'm 68, to say that I don't have a handle on pot. Are you kidding me? Our generation was the pot generation. 60s and 70s, that's when pot became popular. I'll tell you the thing I hate most about pot is the smell. I just hate it. And all the potheads, we used to call them potheads. We called them heads when I was young. And any pothead that I knew, I don't care what anybody says, some of them were the finest people. But they got burned out. I mean, pot didn't do anything good for them. It took them years to get off of it and out of it and get their lives in order. Some of them ended up in prison because of it. And I just don't want to see it here. As far as the movie theater closing, I go to that theater all the time. I mean, all the time. And I would really hate to see that leave because we only have 3 of them in our county. It's really hard to go see a movie. So I would really hate that. I also think the behavior was very, 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 very disrespectful. And also, you don't have a handle on the charter. You know, only about, it's either 12 or 17% of municipalities in Michigan have a charter. Like even Richmond is not a city. They don't have a charter. But we have a charter. We're a city. And so we have a different set of laws. So although I don't think that it should be brought in, the police dealings with his daughter, because I wouldn't want to go back and raise teenagers for nothing. And I know at one point my husband wanted to take in a teenage foreign exchange student. I said, are you kidding me? I didn't like our teenagers. Why do you think I'd like one from another country? But anyway, it's really hard to raise teenagers. But I don't want pot here. I don't want it. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I know it has, sometimes it needs to be done. I mean, it's a good drug for certain things, but I really don't want it in my city. And I don't think that because I'm old, I don't know anything about pot because we were the generation that brought pot on the line. So I know more about pot than you do, I'm sure. So anyway, I do think you were disrespectful. So I'm defending you on one hand, but I'm saying you were very, 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 very disrespectful. I don't think you knew your job, because if you knew our charter, you wouldn't be handling it that way. And on Facebook, say this old person doesn't know anything about pot is a lack of knowledge about the history of pot. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rosalie.
Anybody else? Okay. And move on to item 6, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the City Commission meeting minutes of July 20, 2023?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as amended.
Support.
Okay. Motion and support. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. On to 7, consent agenda. We have item A, the Community Economic Development Meeting Minutes of May 24th, 2023. Item B, the Pension Board Pension Plan Meeting Minutes of April 13th, 2023. Item C, through Pension Board, the Retiree Health Care Meeting Minutes of April 13th, 2023. Item D, the Social District Permit Approval of Gord's Bar. Item E, the Social District Permit Approval of the Marine City Fish Company. Item F, the Social District Permit Approval of Two Rivers Winery. Item G, the Social District Permit Approval of the Newport Pub. Item H, the Social District Permit Approval of Gar's Lounge. Item I, the Social District Permit Approval of Anita's Place. And can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through I as presented?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda, letters A through I.
Support.
I have a motion and a support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Hilferink?
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to item 8, items removed from the consent agenda, we have none. On to 9, financial business. We have expenditures including payroll of $637,195.84. Can I have a motion to approve the expenditures including payroll in the amount of $637,195.84?
I'll make a motion, we approve the expenditures, including payroll for $637,195.84.
Support.
I have the motion and the support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yep.
Commissioner Hilferink?
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And to item 9B, the preliminary financial statements. Can I have a motion to approve receiving and filing the preliminary financial statements?
I'll make a motion to accept and file the preliminary financial statements.
Support.
Okay, I have the motion and the support. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. On to item 10, unfinished business, the 300 Broadway Bandstand rental application.
Yes, Mayor.
City Manager?
I'll kind of start and lead in. As you're all aware, there's been quite a bit of discussion, and I know that Commissioner Ross has been working quite diligently on bringing forth information from the discussion with the committee in regards to rental. In our office, Michelle Goodrich has worked to put together a framework of a rental application based upon current application we use for park pavilions, and that is in your packet this evening. And again, I'll defer to Commissioner Ross for some additional discussion. But again, we'd just like to have feedback from the commission in regards to a direction to go forward on. We are getting inquiries on the bandstand, and that's very encouraging. And we'd just like to set a framework in place and be able to move forward on getting this rental application process underway and renting that wonderful facility.
Thank you, Commissioner Rourke.
Yes, I see it says they change it daily from dawn to dusk, which is great, except what about the Christmas parade? That's usually in the dark, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and again, I think that we may want to look at an overall provision, and I think we're going to have the same situation coming up with the marina, that for events that are either direct city events or those that have an approved special event permit process, that there would be a waiver or variation upon the
Okay.
framework of the regulations.
Yeah, that was covered in here,
Okay.
excluding major holidays and community events.
Okay. That's my only question. Yeah.
So to fill in the X's, it's 300 Broadway Heritage Park Bandstand is a beautiful covered bandstand reminiscent of the original structure built in, it was 1908, for anybody that cares to fill that out. And then I was furnished with the phone number of the company that constructed it, and they basically said from a loading standpoint, you know, you could have people shoulder to shoulder in there. It's on that 12-inch concrete slab. It's not going anywhere. So they said, you do what feels comfortable. And then I also had asked Scott, what about our fire authority for, ingress, egress, evacuation. And Joe, according to Scott, you would come up with roughly what I did, 20 to 30. 30 would be standing, and roughly 20-ish would be seated. So in that range, from a fire authority standpoint, Mariner Park just says 100 people, kind of generically. And I would argue that's probably standing. That's quite a big area. It's a pretty big area, but I think once you have the picnic tables and everything else, I don't know that it can do 100. Anyway, I don't know how you want to word it, but maybe up to 30 people, something along those lines. And again, I would want whatever it is to be agreeable with. I would think we would want whatever it is to be agreeable with the fire authority.
Could the language be perhaps a maximum of 30 persons based upon occupancy posting, and then we would post somewhere inside that band shell occupancy, 20 seated, 30, standard occupancy posting based on the chief's language in there. That may cover us on the application and then would cover us inside that facility, again, discreetly.
That is also covered in the 2015 building code occupancy load, and it lists everything.
Does it actually have bandstand? I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yes, it
I'm
does.
just curious. That's great.
Place of
They
occupancy,
really thought of everything.
standing room, sitting room.
Brian, did you guys think about anything for like a cleaning fee or a deposit so that they'd get it back?
Further down, yeah, we did
didn't-
make a note on that. So this is page 2, the actual
Okay.
application. The paragraph just before it says applicant signature, it gives you kind of some, hey, we may seek reimbursement from you, if there's damages to the property, but my thoughts were, what about like a security deposit?
That's
Yeah.
what the Lions Club always said, is security deposit, and if they complied with everything, then they got it back. If they didn't, then whatever damages came out of that security deposit. That's the way it was done over there.
Right, I mean, I'm kind of looking at Scott, asking if that's okay. And I wouldn't think that would be a bad thing to maybe amend in, I know it's not specifically up for discussion tonight, but amend in the Mariner Park Pavilion agreement as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's usually easier to get money up front than to get it after
Yeah.
they're gone, yeah.
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 And then the only other thing that I found a little bit weird is a resident is an individual, this is on page 1, a resident is an individual who pays their taxes to the city of Marine City. So I guess, that could conceivably exclude renters. That's identical on the Mariner Park verbiage that was done before my tenure.
And I would think, kind of looking at our city attorney, that may be something we will need to address. Because
Yes.
again,
Yeah, let's
definition of a resident, which can be verified by
By an
driver's
address.
How about-
license,
yeah.
voter
Yeah.
registration.
A bill that comes to the address.
Or state
Yeah.
ID.
Yeah.
Let's take a second look at that.
Yeah, that could
I'm
may
not
have
trying to
been,
call anybody out.
Yeah.
I happened to notice it and thought it
Yeah,
was,
The other thing is,
The
I
shared
think,
zip code
I think
may
we should run the scenario by your CGL, general liability policy folks, and make sure that we remain covered if we do this as covered property. Just run it by them. They're gonna say, okay, but just make sure they know about it.
Nickel and Saf,
Yes,
who we just preliminarily approved last meeting.
right.
Did,
And I
did
can
they,
do that.
We
yeah,
can do
have
that.
they been notified that it's all been updated? Because that makes a difference on our insurance too.
They have, I don't have the new adjusted value from them.
I mean, it's been up long since they did the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so,
They're aware, I just don't believe we have the adjusted value, current replacement value.
I mean, honestly speaking, the previous one was a liability, and this one's all nice and low. and
Yes,
has
it is.
a correct,
Yeah. Handicap accessible.
handicap accessible ramp, everything, so.
No, but when you're sort of renting your property out, you're putting it in the hands of a different user, so just make sure your carrier knows.
No argument, but yeah. So I guess my question would be, what did you want from this, to bring it back again? For us to issue ideas, that sort of thing? Or, to issue preliminary approval tonight? What was your thought?
And if I can, Mayor, I believe if the commission is comfortable with where it is now, we can make the changes on the official application which are very simple. I can do the verification with Nickel and Saff if there's anything we're missing. And again, I think that to define that proof of residency, and maybe we want to put in parentheses, a valid voter ID card, driver's license, or Michigan ID card, and just put in there, eliminate that other portion about must be,
Yeah. I
homeowner
would
or proper
define the security
taxpayer.
deposit too, by amount.
And I think that may have been because we share a zip code with residents in
Very
another
likely.
community, so they may think that it's
Sure.
Marine City address.
And
but it's
I
not,
think,
so
again, if they provide, and we can even make a photocopy to attach to the application when it's completed, then we would have verification that they are in fact a city resident. On the security deposit, I mean, I know generally in cases, these are usually, about a $300 deposit, and it's held, those type of things. I know that, I think as an attorney, Mr. Davis probably likes the language in there too. I mean, they have a deposit, but if there was anything that exceeds the deposit, then we, preserve our legal right to go after for additional costs. So.
Correct.
Right.
I also wanted to query everyone on the cost. It's the exact same as the pavilion. The pavilion holds 100 people. This holds 20 to 30. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it in any way, shape, or form, and I love the idea of the money for the city. But, do you think people would value it the same amount as a rental as, such a larger facility? It is super great for pictures. I mean, it is nice. But I just wanted to kind of query the commission on that, how do you feel about that?
It
Yeah,
does
'cause-
bring an enhanced, it does bring an enhanced value as far as weddings and those type of things
Oh,
that.
no question.
Correct.
May otherwise not have occurred there if this
Right.
structure
True.
hadn't been put in.
True. I mean, again, I'm okay with it. I just wanted to make sure the commission was as well, is all.
Well, I would try it and see how it goes and see if, see what people
Yeah, if we
think.
price it out of the market and nobody does it, then, yeah, we can.
Can always do a fee schedule adjustment and an
Correct.
amendment.
Is that part of the grant they're looking for the city hall? That said, we've got that grant, we can't charge any money?
This,
Well, we haven't got the grant yet. This is part of the park. If we were to receive the grant, yes, all this would need to be relooked at, but not until that time.
or unless we find a creative waiver that others have used.
Sure.
In similar situations.
Again, if we were to get the grant, it would be handled by a grant manager, and all of that would go through them. But we don't have the grant yet, so.
What about somebody that lives here and brings in a group that you don't want here? I was in a municipality a few years ago that a guy rented it, the hall, and Mission Militia had their meeting there. They did not like it after that. But I don't know what you can do about anything like that. It was a township.
We can hope they don't like that extra $50 they'd have to pay as non-residents. And, I mean, but
we could look
that
at
could happen anywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
they could rent the pavilion, they could,
I'm just saying,
But
I know of a case that
Sure.
they wouldn't rent it to them if they knew.
but I will say, if you read the verbiage on the last line, no glass, fires, et cetera, bands and amplified equipment was removed from the bandstand, which makes obvious sense, and it is still forbidden at Mariner Park. So, anyway, but yeah, I mean, for the city to be able to start making money on this as soon as possible, do you think we could possibly bring both back, especially if we need to amend the resident thing next meeting?
Bob, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that would be fine. We can make those changes and have it in front at the next meeting.
Okay.
What number do you want for the security deposit?
I was gonna say, ask Jeff. I mean, he's the DPW guy that would be taking care of it. He could maybe assign on
Yeah,
how many hours. I
that's a
I
hard,
certainly wouldn't think it would be more than, you mentioned $300. I think that's a little steep, given the rental is only 100 or 150.
but we don't want to have something that deters people. We want to have something.
I
Exactly.
think at the club, we only charge 100, and then we
What
have.
about 100 and
Yeah,
100?
equal amount to the rent.
Yeah.
That's fine by me.
Because again, we have legal recourse if we have a responsible party, they're signing.
I actually like Scott's, 100 for, same as the rent,
So 100 and 100.
100 and 150.
150, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Right, say, And the security deposit is for a non-resident, 150, for a
Okay.
resident, 100.
The only other thing I saw down here is that you're banning portable restrooms, but I mean, in that area, we don't have any restrooms like we do over at the other pavilion. So do you really want to do that if somebody's having a thing there for a few hours, if they want to rent the porta-john, not us?
I guess I think the intent here was you don't want a
Just-
porta-john right next to the thing.
No,
Like
but-
if we specify a designated area for it to go beside,
Yes. I'm just saying, you're
Yeah.
basically saying no porta-john, and they might need a porta-john. Yeah, you just don't want it in the
but
bandstand.
it did
you
say
want
it's a park and, you
Yeah.
know, would be treated as such, and that this is separate from that park, you know, so I think that you could get around that, but if you want verbiage specific to that, that sounds good.
How about a separate bullet point, and we can maybe put it right, maybe the second or third bullet point, portable restrooms may be allowed upon the approval
Of
and
the lo-
location as designated by the city.
Correct.
And
They have to buy it.
at the,
At-
yes,
at
exactly, at the
renter's-
renter's expense.
At renter's
That's what I was
expense,
gonna
correct.
add.
Yeah,
Correct.
that would be perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to rewrite, or do you want to approve it tonight, subject to the rewrite?
I would be okay with the latter.
I would as well.
I would say let's, again, let's approve it tonight, subject to the rewrite. That way we can get this thing moving and get it out so that people can use it faster.
Oh, all right, then I'll make a motion to approve the 300 Broadway Bandstand rental application pending the revisions.
Support.
Motion and a support. Any further discussion?
Just for the sake of it, do we need to like read them back? Do we want to,
No, we have them,
okay,
I think between Jason and I, we
we have them written down.
are
here.
scribing away here.
okay.
And because we do roll call on this one because it's involving finances with the rentals? Or
Sure.
we do?
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hilfrank.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes.
Commissioner Ross.
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosh.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, on to item 11, new business, under action items, the FOIA appeal. Commissioner Mike Hilfrank.
So, Commissioners, as the appellant approaches the podium, a reminder that the commission as a body is the head of the public body for purposes of a FOIA appeal. Mike is a person, citizen, member of the public who's allowed to submit a FOIA request. There was an appeal filed using the word appeal. Under the statute, it requires that you use the word appeal in your appeal. And we are now going to hear that appeal. Mike Helfrink is the person bringing the appeal, and the clerk will be responding on behalf as the FOIA coordinator.
Okay.
Feels good to take that off. I tell you, sometimes I feel like sitting over there puts tape right over my mouth. So it's nice to be at this podium again. Like, it feels good to be up here as just a John Q. citizen, private citizen with all the rights afforded as such. And I'm gonna take advantage of every right I can there by proceeding with this. Honestly, it's absolutely crazy to me that I have to come to this podium and make a request to postpone this appeal. As I've already reached out to the city manager, I've reached out to Bob Davis, I've reached out to the clerk, I even reached out to Lisa Hendrick about my desire to postpone. All of them were struck down. And I really don't understand that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Bob. Could you explain that for the public, why?
The reason is that we're governed by state law statute, MCL 15.240, says that when there's an aggrieved person who wants to appeal a ruling by the FOIA coordinator, you have a right to go to circuit court. You didn't exercise that right. You exercised the right to go to the head of the public body. The public body is this commission. We've determined that we would act as the public body. Under the law, the public body is deemed to have received your appeal at its next regular meeting and only has statutorily 10 days thereafter to rule and, hear and rule on your appeal. So we're here this evening because we're not meeting in the next 10 days necessarily at a regular meeting. So this is the regular meeting. This is the day that your appeal is deemed received, and the commission has put it on the agenda to hear your appeal.
Okay, so it is your opinion I have no relief whatsoever and I must proceed?
Well, there is a, you know, if,
Because that really doesn't line up with what you said on the October, what was it?
the opinion.
October 20th, 2021 meeting. There, you had said this.
You know, if the appellant, Phil, wants to postpone that, I think it has to be clear on the record that it's his request. It's made by him. He understands that it's contrary to the statutory benefit given to him by having that hearing tonight, and he wants to put it off for a month. But he needs to come to the podium and state that.
Okay, now they have the floor. I'm going to continue. Again, it's a bit confusing. What you're saying now doesn't really line up with what you said at the October 2021 meeting regarding another citizen's request to postpone. And I really am trouble having to understand that. And I really would hope that the public out there would start asking some questions and trying to figure that out, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Could I finish?
Excuse me. It's
Yeah,
my
but
presentation.
you asked me a question.
You can reply
I didn't
after
finish.
I'm done.
I didn't finish.
You can reply when I'm done.
I'm going to tell you
I'm on
about
the
it.
floor.
I'll tell you about a right of an
Bob,
extension.
you can reply after I'm done with my presentation. That's how it works, right?
However you say, Mr. Helfring.
I mean, that's how it works. Usually I present,
I wasn't-
you reply.
I was not done
You
with
were-
my explanation of the law.
You did.
I'm not done with my explanation of the law.
You just did.
Mr. Hillfrank, you had asked him a question. He was in the middle
Okay,
of
go ahead.
I
responding.
still have one more provision.
And then
I
you
was going
interrupted.
to
Go ahead.
Before you started with your
Go ahead.
tape recording.
Go ahead.
So under 15.240, there's 10 days to hear the appeal, and it's deemed received at the next regular meeting. Under D, 2D, 15.240, 2D, it does say under unusual circumstances, the public body has the right to extend for another 10 days the period during which the head of the public body would respond to the written appeal.
Oh, really? Because that's exactly what I pointed out
No, it
in
isn't.
the text.
No, it isn't. You're
And-
wrong, Mike.
Okay.
You're wrong.
Okay, I'm going to proceed. Okay?
You're wrong.
Okay, I'm going to proceed. All right, so again, it's a bit confusing to me why I am not given or offered the same exact benefits that were offered to another citizen. Why is that? Why would I not be offered the same benefits that Phil Lexiak was back in 2021? Also want to mention, it is the policy of this commission, and I have two different emails from Jason Bell and also our former city clerk, Shannon Adams, talking about the deadlines to put things on the agenda. This item was literally added to the agenda yesterday. So please be advised that the City Commission agenda hard deadline for the February 2nd meeting is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023 at 12 noon. That is 9 days before the next meeting. That's from Shannon Adams. Mr. Bell here, we will be keeping the deadline of 2/21/23 at noon for the commission agenda items. This is, again, 9 days before the meeting on March 2nd. On to the next thing, let's see. So it is my belief that, so my main reason for asking for a postponement here is because I wasn't able to secure all the evidence that I needed to proceed with this appeal, which were FOIAs that I'd asked Mr. Bell to complete. It is my opinion that these FOIAs are taking longer than expected to complete because of battles over what's attorney-client privilege and what is not. Okay, that's just my opinion. And I feel like those attorney-client privileges are applied rather arbitrarily in this city. In my hands here, I have various memos from Mr. Davis, and these are all first pages of these memos. These are all not protected by attorney-client privilege. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then here, I have 2 in my hand that I can't hold up because they are protected, but these 2 are protected by attorney-client privilege. 2 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is just in the, let's see, 8 months that I've been on this board that have been privy to these kind of communications. So I can only imagine how many more are out there that are arbitrarily applied simply for a request that really has nothing to do with attorney-client privilege and more about what a city manager wants the attorney to kind of keep down a little bit when the heat gets turned on. Just my opinion. And as proof of that, I have an email chain here. This email chain had to do with the Spark grant. Lisa, I know you'll be very aware of this and how that email chain went with our former city manager. So, started off Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, 11:42 a.m. This is an email from the city manager. Good afternoon. I want to inform the group that we will not be distributing this document. Instead, as a compromise, there will be a watermarked version available in the administrator's office for each of you to come in and read after 12:30 p.m. today. This document will remain in the office, and while you read it, again, will is underlined and bolded, while you read it, return to the staff, and no pictures of the document will be permitted. We're talking about a grant application here. This allows everyone to have the opportunity to read it while still ensuring confidentiality due to the delicate nature of a grant narrative. Bob has also agreed to offer a closed session discussion about the narrative if the commission is interested, provided numbered copies in the closed session for each of you to read and return to him when finished. Again, we want to give everyone the opportunity to read the document, but we need to ensure the confidentiality of it. Thank you for your understanding as we navigate this. So the next email that came on to this chain was from Mr. Davis, and it was at same day, 12/13/2022, 12:15. Let's end this conversation, given the potential OMA Open Meetings Act issues involved here. I will circulate the document as confidential and attorney-client privileged. This will prevent any disclosures. Please send me the narratives at issue. But then, just a little while later, at 12/13/2022 at 3:16 p.m., another email comes from Mr. Davis. The manager has issued 2 avenues to review this document. The option of me issuing the document as attorney-client communication is not going to happen. This is a transmittal email and not a discussion on the substance of the underlying issue. Again, to the public out there, that seems to me like arbitrarily applying things. First he said he was going to do it, then he said he wasn't going to do it. I don't know. Does that have something to do with me not getting my FOIA information in time to adequately do this appeal? One can only guess. As I said, Lisa, I reached out to you last night, asked you, is there any way we can postpone this? And you had said to me, nope, we have to follow FOIA law and we have to go through the process. However, again, at the same meeting where Mr. Alexiak came up here asking for the same thing I am, this is what you had to say.
Just for the sake that, he's requesting it, I think we should just postpone it till the next meeting. It's not going to be that big of a deal.
Can I ask for a motion?
Would you say why he?
Hold on, I got the floor. All right, so going further. I got one for Mr. Bryson over there, because I really hope at the end of this, Mr. Bryson, that you also err on the side of caution for me as well, in the same way that you did for Phil Alexiak. because I also have your comments from that same meeting.
My personal opinion is I think we need to err on the side of caution in respecting Mr. Alexiak's right to appeal. Yep, he has asked for this to be postponed. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't bother me to push it off 1 month. I mean,
Okay. And it goes further. We even had Bob instructing Brian to write down the motion and the way he wanted it written. So I got that here as well.
So Brian, get your pen up. So the appropriate type of motion would be a motion to set aside this appeal until the November meeting based on the specific request of the applicant.
Okay. And then finally, I have the actual motion being made by Brian, of which was voted on and was passed unanimously.
So Brian, get your pen up.
Oh, sorry,
So the
wrong one.
appropriate
I'll go with the
type
other
of
one. Had the wrong one.
Make a hell of a motion.
So if I may make a motion to set aside this appeal to the next scheduled meeting in November based on the specific request of the appellant.
Okay, so now that we're all on the same page here with what kind of precedent has been set by this board and what kind of policy in the past has been practiced, I can go ahead and pass out the communications that probably weren't given to the rest of the commission. And this is my email directly to Mr. Bell and his explanation about how Mr. Davis's opinion that came from Scott Atkins pretty much told me that my postponement wasn't possible.
Madam Mayor, can I interject, please?
Yes, go ahead.
So the reason that we gave Oleksic a extension is because he asked. Mr. Helfrich has not asked for that extension. He has asked me, I can't grant it. He has asked Lisa, she can't grant it. He has asked the city manager, he can't grant it. I think it would be appropriate, instead of this grandstand, just ask for the postponement.
That's what I did to all three of you guys.
We can't grant it. Ask the commission.
But listen, Bob, when you give me opinion that says that I can't postpone, that's an opinion saying I can't postpone.
All right, Mike, I'm telling you right now, ask the commissioners
So-
for an extension.
I will respectfully ask that this commission postpone this appeal because I do not have all the information and evidence that I need to proceed with said appeal. I tried to do this last night. I tried to contact 3 different people. I tried to get a legal opinion from the city attorney directly about it, and the city attorney shut me down at every single turn.
Wow, Mike, I'm highly disappointed with you.
I
That's just
have
what
a
happened.
question.
Go ahead.
It says here in your email, I would like this appeal to be heard by the city commission at its earliest convenience.
Yep.
And now you're taking that back?
Keep reading the next one.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Other page.
What other?
There's 2 pages.
Please find the attached FOIA request.
Okay,
I don't have anything else.
somebody else has got it.
But you're asking for it, they put it on, and now they're telling you all you had to do was
So, hold on.
ask the board
Hold on.
for extension.
So this, in case,
And you
I don't,
better-
you-
sorry.
Can I read the email?
No.
'Cause, yes, I can. I have the floor.
I'm not done talking.
I have the floor, though. See,
You went
guys,
through all this stuff
hold on,
that
hold
doesn't
on,
make a
hold on,
whole lot of
hold on,
sense,
Hold on.
and now,
Hold
instead
on.
of just asking,
Hold on. I need to be able to finish my presentation, and you had a question for me, and you didn't read the email that I gave you. So the email that I sent Mr. Bell read like this: because my other FOIA requests are not complete, I do not have enough information evidence to proceed with my appeal tomorrow evening. I would like to postpone my appeal until my other FOIA requests are completed and I'm able to review said info. I apologize for any confusion in my earlier request for an appeal at the Commission's earliest convenience, as I did not expect to have the appeal heard at the city meeting tomorrow at all due to what I assumed were going to be long-form closed sessions and there being 3 of them. I do understand the FOIA statute demands, and I'm fine with waiving my timely appeal rights. Thank you for your time and understanding. To which Mr. Bell replied, Mr. Hillfrank, per FOIA law and Marine City's FOIA policy and procedure, your appeal has been requested and added to the City Commission agenda. Pursuant to the response from City Attorney Davis, forwarded to you by City Manager Atkins, the Commission has 10 days to provide your response to regard to your appeal. So that essentially is saying I cannot postpone.
Mike, you didn't make the request to the commissioners. You made it to me. I can't grant it.
I asked.
He can't grant it.
Right.
She can't grant it.
I understand.
This board can grant it like they did for Phil.
I understand.
Make the request.
I reached out to Lisa in the same way that Phil did. He contacted you on Facebook, asked you, can I postpone?
Who voted to approve Phil's?
I asked the city attorney's opinion before coming in front of this commission and asking for a postponement outside of the law, and I was given a piece of opinion that.
So you violated the charter by contacting me directly?
Nope.
So any citizen can contact the city attorney?
So
For a
I
question?
contacted Scott about it first. I wasn't satisfied with the answer, so then I contacted Bob.
Like, Mike, if we're going to play by the rules, we're going to play by all of them.
Right. And that's exactly what I did.
And I'm never going to answer another email that you send.
Fair enough. So, again, I respectfully ask that this commission postpone this FOIA appeal as set by previous precedent because I do not have all the information.
Okay, so we'll go through the same thing we did with Mr. Alexic. Are you willing to waive your statutory rights to have this heard within 10 days of our receipt?
I said it in the email. I do understand the FOIA statute demands, and I'm fine with waiving my timely appeal rights. I'm assuming you read that.
Mike, I'm asking you right now on the record, are you willing to waive your statutory right to have the appeal heard within the 10 days allotted in the statute?
Am I waiving my, yeah, I do understand the FOIA statute demands, and I'm fine with waiving my timely appeal rights. That's what I just said.
Okay, so board, it's the same thing we did with Phil. He's willing to waive those rights. You can put this off to your next regular meeting if you want to do that.
Just for clarity, it's just to the next regular meeting. It's just an extra 10 days of extension. It's not until perpetuity.
Well, it's 14 days, but.
Yes.
14 days. Which should give me they asked for the 10-day extension to get my FOIA information, and I should have it by then, so we should be all good.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If you don't have the information, are we still going to go on, or are you going to ask for another extension?
I don't think that's legally allowed. They have to give me the information within 10 days.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
It's my opinion, his appeal that was requested tonight has to do with a FOIA that has already been approved for him. He's been provided a fee sheet. His appeal specifically is towards the fees provided. So I'm not sure of the relevance of his FOIA requests that are still pending with a 10-day extension would have on this appeal. That's just.
Can I answer that?
Opinion as a.
I could tell you.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Let him finish, please.
Sure.
Just my opinion as a FOIA coordinator for the city. The appeal is specific to the fees, not the relevance of his pending FOIA requests.
Okay.
Can I answer that? Address that? So the FOIA that I have out right now is for Cheryl Verkammen's FOIA against me on the body cam footage from back in February. So I need that information and compare the fees that she was charged versus the fees I was charged to make sure I'm being treated fairly.
Is that correct? Is there a FOIA out for that?
There is in February, and I can also tell you that there was another FOIA request for this same information that he requested a day after in July. That was approved. Fee sheet was provided to the requester. That fee was paid. Records have been submitted to that requester.
The fee was $3 difference because the other applicant had a link and Mike required the actual hard drive, whatever.
That was a totally separate FOIA. That FOIA was just for the audio recordings for the last meeting.
That was
I'm sorry, were you done, Attorney Davis?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hillfrank, your request was specific to body camera footage from Officer Deacon and Officer Kelly from a call to your house.
Right.
And if I can read it word for word, all 55 minutes of Officer Deacon's and Officer Kelly's body cam video and audio from the night of 7/18/23 at 10:45 p.m. when responding to the complaint alleged by Amber Craven. The address that the officers responded to is 414 Woodworth. The complaint was alleged against myself. Thank you. So that is the one you're requesting. The other request that was requested, and I will read that one to you word for word. Any police report on response to police call at 525 Woodworth on 7/18/2023. Any police body camera video of response to police call at 525 Woodworth on 7/18/2023. Any police report regarding Mike Hillfrank on 7/18/2023. The basis of the requests are both the same.
I don't think, what are you reading? What FOIA, is that my FOIA? Whose FOIA is that you just read?
FOIA I read.
No, the one you
first.
just read. Whose FOIA did you just read?
The FOIA I read first.
Who's the one
was
that,
yours.
right, what's that
This
one?
one is from another requester.
So that's Sheriff McCammon's.
No.
Oh.
7/18. The one you requested in your other FOIA on 7/27 was from your incident back in February.
Right.
So we're comparing apples to oranges here. I'm comparing apples to apples.
No, what I'm saying is there's two FOIAs, right? I was asking for, the FOIA, I'm not even sure, I think you're mixing up your FOIAs there, to be honest. So I have one FOIA out for Sheriff McCammon's FOIA against me.
Yep.
And I also have a FOIA out for the communications between the city manager and the city attorney between the dates of 7/20 and 7/27. Those are the two FOIAs I have out right now.
Right, Mr. Hillfrank, specifically why we're here tonight is you're appealing the fees from your FOIA that's
Right.
dated, your FOIA that's dated 7/19/2023 for the police body camera footage.
Right.
That was approved. You were sent an approval letter that said your FOIA was approved, here are your fees.
Which I don't agree with.
That's what you're appealing, that's my point I'm trying to make. You're appealing that. The second FOIA I just read to you, requesting that same information, is not from you. It's from another requester that was dated 7/20/2023.
Okay.
That response was provided to that requester on 7/27/2023.
Okay. I don't, that's,
That fee was set, excuse me, I have the
Sorry.
floor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. That fee was $73.36.
Okay.
That person paid for that
okay.
without objection. That's apples to apples.
Okay.
Your appeal tonight is to do with the fees from that FOIA dated 7/19/2023.
Right.
Your other two FOIAs that you're speaking of are irrelevant to your appeal tonight on the excessive fees from your FOIA from 7/19/2023.
Okay, so first of all, it's kind of amazing you're still arguing this when I simply want to postpone it, for one. Like, it's just precedent. And secondly, precedent's already been set in 2021 on another citizen. And secondly, I need to know how much Sheriff McCammon was charged in order to know if the fees were appropriate for mine, because there were very similar FOIA requests. Now, you've tried to present your own evidence, which I'm not even sure is appropriate, but the evidence that I want is from Cheryl.
So you want to compare a previous FOIA and not compare the actual FOIA you want now, that somebody else has already paid for, with the same?
I want the evidence that I requested in order to proceed with this appeal. Yes.
And in all likelihood, Madam Chair, those fees may be different because there likely would have been a different wage at that point. We've had wages approved by the commission, percentages, job changes. So, I mean, I just want everybody, in the spirit of transparency, to understand that there likely would be differences between a previous one in December versus now because of contractual changes and wage changes, so.
All I'm asking for is to be able to get the information that I requested so I could proceed with my appeal with the evidence that I desired. That's all I'm asking. Yeah.
I guess I would suggest that next time you do an appeal, do it when you collect all your information instead of appealing without having your information. You know what I'm saying?
See, that's the thing. I didn't think it would possibly take this long to get the information I requested.
Each FOIA is different.
Understandable, but you know, it's my first deal down the road. I actually never submitted a FOIA. This is my first time, and I'm just asking for the same, the same rights and privileges that were offered to Philip Alexiak. That's it.
Okay. So what has to be done now, Mr. Attorney?
It's up to the commissioners if you want to grant. We would.
I don't believe we can have anybody from the audience speak. So.
We could, you guys could, with the representation that he's willing to waive his statutory right to the timeliness of the appeal under the law, we can do the same extension Brian, I don't want to coach you into a motion, but I would be willing to help you with.
Say the right thing.
I would be willing to help with the language. The language would simply be, the appeal is adjourned until the next regular meeting, with the applicant having waived the statutory provision on the timeliness of the appeal.
Can I just ask a question, I guess, to clarify? We're just voting that you're, for the one where you're questioning the amount?
Yep,
That's the only one we're voting on tonight?
that's the only thing he's appealing right
It's the
now.
only thing he's appealing? Okay.
And the motion would only be to delay it.
Just
until the next meeting.
adjourn the appeal to the next regular meeting.
Well, that's what he's requesting.
Correct. And that's the same discretion that you exercised with, I never say Phil's name last, I'm just gonna say Phil.
Like Shaq.
Phil's FOIA was a different issue. He was appealing on a different basis. I don't think it was a fee dispute. This is a fee dispute
It's
only.
because he turned in information and it wasn't provided to us until the night of the meeting.
Right,
And so we couldn't view it, so therefore we didn't have enough information to.
right.
Yeah. And I don't have enough information to provide you guys.
To get this moving, I'll make the motion that we, all right, coach me here, that we,
Oh, no.
all right,
Never again.
that we postpone this,
Adjourn.
adjourn this FOIA appeal until the next commission meeting, based on the
Appellant waiving
appellant waiving his
statutory right
rights
to the timely appeal.
to the timely appeal. Is that okay?
That is perfect. And
I told you I wouldn't help you.
and I really do apologize I tried to resolve this in every way that I possibly could with the people that I could talk to. Because I obviously can't reach out to the commission as a whole because that's an OMA violation because I'm a commissioner. So I reached out to the people that I could to try to get the answers and I was shut down.
You weren't shut down. We couldn't grant it, Mike. You have to follow the appeal process.
Well, that's
what I told you.
Couldn't grant what?
I can't tell you that.
Only the commissioners as a body can waive.
No, I understand. I understand that. I can't approach them, and when I reach out to the person that I usually go to for advice on these things, and I expected to get the same advice that I got, that she gave Phil, and then I reach out to the city attorney for advice, reach out to the city manager for advice, and they all say kind of the same thing. It's frankly disturbing.
It's an appeal process.
It's statutory.
Yeah. It's.
No, it's not being offered the same advice and the same pleasures that another citizen was given.
Well, to me, I wouldn't have submitted it unless I had all my information, I guess.
Well, I mean, like I said,
Okay.
Is there a second on the
I
motion?
got a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Support.
Support. Okay, motion and a support. Any other discussion?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
No.
Commissioner Ross.
No.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
No.
Commissioner Bryson.
No.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Motion failed.
all right. So what do we do now, Bob?
What happens now?
Are you done presenting your appeal?
I mean, I can say some stuff.
Present your appeal.
Okay, so,
The FOIA coordinator would respond, and then the commission can take action.
okay. All right, so that now they have to make a decision on whether or not they're going to listen to the arguments that I have. And see, this is the problem. You guys don't have the documents in front of you because I kind of assumed that I would be given the same rights as another citizen, but this kind of seems like a retaliatory action, to be honest with you. But that'll be sorted out later. So my immediate issue with the fee was that locating the body cam footage by an employee that worked at the police department for how many years, Jason? A lot of years. Won't answer me. a lot of years, so he knows exactly how these body cam footage videos are stored. He knows exactly where they are, but I was charged 107 minutes of time to locate said file, which is pretty silly to me. That's an hour and 47 minutes to locate a file that the police chief had just been reviewing the same day I put in the FOIA. Does that make any sense to anybody? Really? I mean, public out there, does it make sense to you? It really doesn't to me. Another point, Michigan law says that the lowest paid employee in the office who is capable of locating said FOIA request is supposed to do the job. And Mr. Bell charged me for his wages, and I'm pretty darn sure that there's people in that office that make less than him, that are perfectly capable of using a computer and taking a file from one window and putting it to another window on a USB drive. I mean, they're all very well versed in using a computer. They use them every day. They could have easily done it. But again, I was charged for the wages of Mr. Bell. So those are my two reasons for the appeal.
Okay, Mr. Bell, you want to take the podium?
Up there?
Yep.
Up there? Absolutely.
It's not just, he has to take out all the privileged information.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, in regards to the appeal by Mr. Hillfrank of the excessive fees for his FOIA request that was dated 7/19/2023, point number one that you have there in an email, the lowest paid employee was not used to fulfill the FOIA request with respect to locating said information, which is required by Michigan law. Michigan law does require the lowest paid employee that is capable of locating or performing the task. That's clearly stated in the law. Also, our fee sheet says in there. So with this, I still currently work at the police department, and with my experience in training in FOIAs, personally, 107 minutes to locate and examine the information, which is also in there if we read further. It's not just locating the information, it's examining the information to extrapolate protected information against non-protected information or exempt, non-exempt information for redaction purposes. The chief and myself are the only two capable employees of performing that task. We're both administrators in that program. No other officer or anybody else at the police department is able to perform that. As you know, between myself and the chief, I am the lowest paid employee between us two, and that was at the rate of $32.29 an hour after the approval of my agreement in the pay raise there. So 107 minutes was the video. He requested both officers' body cameras. One was 55 minutes long, and the other officer had two segments, one at 28 minutes and one at 24 minutes. It is my job, and it is my duty as processing the FOIA at the police department to watch every minute of that video so I know what to redact, what is exempt and non-exempt per the FOIA law. At 107 minutes, again at $32.29 an hour, which is also demonstrated there in the fee sheet that you guys were provided. 107 minutes, the 55, 28, and 24 would add up to that. His second point of the locating, again, it's the same thing as locating, examining, redacting. Even if we shifted the wages for 107 minutes to redact the information, the final fee still comes out the same. So with that, I mean, it's still at the 107 minutes to redact it, 30 minutes to locate it and examine it, which in my opinion is not correct in my experience and training. I am certified as in FOIA. I've been to multiple trainings with the Michigan State Police FOIA coordinator, Lori Hinckley, who is well respected around the state and does multiple trainings every year. So I am asking the commission to uphold my decision as the FOIA coordinator and the fees and approve FOIA as presented to Mr. Hillfrank. Thank you. I'm sorry, question.
According to the sheet here, it says you were charged an hourly wage, but you could have charged an hourly wage with fringe benefit costs, which would be insurance, retirement, health insurance, whatever else. So you actually could have charged him more.
That is correct, yes. And in my experience of doing this, I have never charged a fee with benefits. It's always just been hourly
Correct.
rate. If for anything that's come through the police department, in my experience.
Which seems reasonable, but you could have charged more.
Correct.
Okay.
Quick question that I had, in regards to FOIA. So we had a citizen request, the same thing that Mike Hillfrank requested.
Yes,
That citizen came in and paid the wage, or the wages, what the FOIA fees were. The difference being one could be emailed, one could be on a thumb drive. Can you still charge full FOIA rate for hourly work if one person has already paid that fee?
yes,
That can be done?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. So anybody else, if 5 more people come in, they'll all pay within that $70 range? I mean, every time it's
That is correct.
that amount?
Yes.
Okay. And then you also said that, and I got the Freedom of Information Act law there, and they did say that no matter who did it, it just had to be charged at the wage of the lowest hourly person. It
Correct.
doesn't actually have to be that person doing the work.
Capable, yeah, and that would be the same. If I were not in the office and the chief was the one that had to process that FOIA at the police department, it would have to be charged at my hourly rate because I'm the lowest paid capable. Yes.
And then you actually answered my other question, was going to be the fact that the chief viewed it for his reasons for the incident, but then you have to review it, but you have to do that reviewing everything for the redaction purpose of it. So it's more kind of intensive for you to go in there because you have to look at what has to be removed and everything like that legally.
That's a two-parter. I can't answer to what the chief did with that video. I wasn't privy to that. I don't know if he had viewed it. I just know when this FOIA request was received, and by the time I processed it, that is my normal job. So yes, that is the normal process for me to go through it, to view it, to pick out what needs to be redacted, which is exempt, non-exempt information, but I can't speak to the chief's actions on this
Okay.
video if he viewed it or not.
Okay.
And was the fee paid?
I'm sorry?
Was the fee paid?
This is still an outstanding invoice. It was not paid.
Outstanding, okay.
And I just clear, because I branched that up because it does say in Mr. Hillfrank's request that it was reviewed by the chief on the same day I requested, so that's,
Right. Again, I can't answer to that.
Was it received by Mike?
The information,
Yeah,
it is still sitting in our office,
okay.
in city offices, awaiting pickup.
Didn't Mr. Helfrich take possession of the information for a period of time?
I was not here. It's my knowledge that Mr. Hillfrank did take possession of the thumb drive that the information was on. Yes.
Who did he
So he
take
did
it from? Who did he take it from?
I believe Katie Posey, our treasurer.
So he had possession of the information for how long?
That I'm unclear on.
Did he already copy it?
That I am also unclear on. I do not know.
Approximately 20 minutes, I understand.
Was it brought back then?
It was returned.
We interviewed the staff, and he did take it from a staff member without permission and took it for about 25 minutes and then brought it back.
Time enough to copy.
Any other questions, Madam Mayor, Commissioners?
anybody else? I have more questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, there's a lot of accusations and seemingly statements being made to cover tracks. First of all, the thumb drive that I did go up there to get was a thumb drive that only had the city audio from the city meeting on it. As Mr. Adkins sent me an email when I asked him if I get a copy of it, because this was for the public's benefit. This was a meeting that was recorded when the power was out, and there was only an audio copy of it on Mr. Bell's phone. So I requested a copy of that because, you know, I'd like to have transparency promoted, and I wanted to get that posted online as soon as possible. I inquired with Mr. Adkins there, is the copy of the city audio ready for me to pick up? He sends me an email, says, yes, it absolutely is ready for you to go pick it up. Just go pick it up. So I go to the office to go pick it up. I believe Katie is her name, comes to the counter, sets it on the counter, says, here you go. I grab it. And then somebody behind her says, wait. He's got to pay for that. And I'm like, okay. I got to pay for a copy of a city audio meeting. It seemed very odd to me, very, very, very odd. And then they find that she's looking through the paperwork because she really didn't know. $76 is what I was expected to pay for a copy of an audio recording of a city meeting, which was insane to me. So I asked her how much the thumb drive was. She didn't know. I said, okay, well, when you figure it out, let me know, and I'll be happy to pay for it. I decided to go home, make a copy of the audio on it, and return it back to the city offices. There was no body cam footage on that USB drive. I don't know if somebody mixed it up in the office. I mean, all thumb drives look alike. I don't know, but it wasn't there. So these accusations, I mean, are pretty inappropriate with...
Mr. Manager?
Yes, let me provide some clarifications. In fact, Commissioner Hillfrank did send me an email requesting the audio. I did reach out to Clerk Bell, who was able to digitally copy the audio from the July 20th meeting onto a flash drive. That was the information that I was presented and shared with Mr. Hillfrank, Commissioner Hillfrank, in an email. However, because of the fact that Mr. Bell also had completed and notified Commissioner Hillfrank that his FOIA was also available with the body cam video. For convenience for Commissioner Hillfrank, both the audio from the meeting and, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, 4 digital files or 3 digital? 3 digital video files were also included on the same flash drive. In speaking with staff and in statements from staff who were present, which includes Treasurer Posey and also Administrative Office Clerk Mann, they stated that Commissioner Hillfrank came in. He was presented with the documentation on the FOIA that the clerk mentioned this evening. At the time, the treasurer was going over the information in regards to the FOIA, and Commissioner Hillfrank then took the entire digital file. It was then the administrative clerk, Mann, who said, oh, hold on, you need to pay for that. Again, all of the files, the audio, which was not a FOIA-able item, or was not requested by a FOIA, was just given to the commissioner because that was a commission portion. The FOIA was a citizen request, not a commission request. But nonetheless, all of the files were placed on one file drive by the clerk. That then flash drive was taken, was returned, and in discussing the matter of how it had occurred, we then subsequently verified that on the returned flash drive that Commissioner brought back, all of the files, audio of the July 20th meeting, as well as 3 of his FOIA-able requested files, the video, were all on that flash drive. And the date that they were placed on that flash drive by the clerk are all locked and embedded in that flash drive. You can tell when they are loaded on. So inserting a flash drive generally will show all of the files on the flash drive, and I can assure you that all of the files remain on that flash drive today.
So the email that you sent to me when I asked for the audio recording, did it mention anything about the videos being on there?
You asked me about the audio.
That's a straightforward question.
I'm trying to answer you.
Okay.
You asked me about that audio file. I reached out to the clerk and said, can you please duplicate this file? He did that and placed them on
That's
with
not what
your-
I asked you, though. Did the email that you sent me about the USB drive say that the body cam footage was on there?
You did not ask about the body cam footage. You asked me about the audio, and I said
Right.
And if you'd like to get that, I can provide that email. I responded to your email.
I got it.
I had no involvement in the FOIA piece. The clerk had them all on one flash drive. So yes, you did get the audio. That was my response. That was your question, my response, that it is on a flash drive available for you at City Hall. That flash drive also contained the FOIA information.
Okay, so I can't speak to I'm just saying it wasn't on there, and I got maybe an explanation about.
It is still on there.
Hold on. So, when you open a music app on a computer and you look for the files that that music app can play, only the music app files show up. So video files don't actually show up. So maybe that's where the confusion was. I don't. I'm just saying. I had no desire. Anybody in this town knows
Did
me. I'm
the
not gonna.
employee make it clear, Mr. Hillfrank, that on that thumb drive was also the FOIA files that he requested? When he took it, when she was going over the information with the thumb drive, you had indicated that
Well,
it was being told to
I
him
believe
that
it was
there
that
FOIA.
employee, her understanding that certainly they were all on there, and in going over that with Mr. Hillfrank, the assumption would be, you're getting this flash drive, this is why this is $76. It has this documentation on this flash drive. The audio, we can call it an additional bonus piece put on there, but the discussion was specifically about the FOIA request and those video files.
And if I may clarify that too, I did specify to the office staff that was in here that day, due to me having to leave and his request, Mr. Hillfrank's request for the audio, and having the only large USB drive we had in the offices to put the 3 video files on, I had told them this is his FOIA response, paperclip to all the paperwork and the response that was provided to him via email already. I said the easiest way to do this is put his audio file on here as well, so when he comes to pick up his FOIA, please let him know that his audio file is on here, because it's the only 64 gigabit thumb drive that we had in the office. So it was more feasible for us to use that one instead of going out and purchasing another one.
And it gets removed out of the office building and then brought back 20 minutes later.
Give or take approximately, yes, but it was returned back to the office. And then subsequently, the remainder of the FOIA was not then taken back.
Why did he return? You guys good? Oops, sorry about that.
What's going on here?
Yeah, and again, if there was the assumption that only the audio was on there, I mean, we did not ask specifically for that to be returned. The intention was, the request was for the audio, here's the audio.
So
Yeah.
if it was just known that only the audio was on there, what was the returning of, would have done? Why- I mean,
Because
just-
I was being accused of some very, very serious accusations, so I felt like returning it was the right thing to do, even though, like I said, I had emailed Mr. Atkins. He told me it was on the USB drive, the audio recording. I went to go pick up that audio recording, and then the miscommunications started taking place, because no, Katie really didn't know what was on it. She had no idea. She didn't even know I was supposed to be charged for it. I don't know who the blonde woman behind her was. I wish I knew her name, but she was the one that actually had to say there's a charge for it. And that's when I was like, really? $76 just to pick up a copy of an audio meeting? So we'll see what ended up happening was the email from Mr. Bell there went to my junk mail. So I didn't get the response saying it was on there.
So you didn't look at it?
Didn't look at what?
The flash drive, when you put it in and click on it.
Like I said, I opened
it's on it.
it in a music. I'm telling you what I saw on the flash drive from the app that I opened it in, and it was a music app, and usually music apps only see music files.
Have you missed other emails from the clerk?
Oh no, not now, because I've unlocked it. I've turned it not going from junk mail to, so we're good now.
I just want to reiterate that Mr. Bell, and he can reconfirm, he did advise the treasurer that all of the files, audio and video for the FOIA, were on that same flash drive.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I have the whole interaction recorded, so it's okay though. Going back.
We do as well.
Going back to some of the claims by Mr. Bell there, which I know this isn't going to matter, but we might as well proceed. When you're carrying out your FOIA tasks as a clerk and FOIA coordinator, where's that office?
Well, hang on a second. You don't get to put him under oath.
What do you mean? He gets to come up here and say things, and I can't.
You present your position, he presents his position. You don't question each other.
I could have swore he just asked me a question, and I was answering him, but I can't ask him questions to answer me.
Did you ask him a question?
I don't believe I did.
I think he
Davis.
did. I'm pretty sure he did.
I don't believe I did.
He got through, no, there was a bunch of questions he just asked
Well,
me
if you-
sitting
If you
there.
want to answer a question, you can answer it, but you're not compelled, you're not under oath to
I
answer
would
questions.
tread lightly.
I would, if I was you, yeah, I would.
Yeah. So, Mr. Bell, would you like me to respond to your response up here? I feel that's only appropriate, and I kind of feel like it's my right. Because there's things that you're saying that don't necessarily make sense. Essentially, the things about locating the file taking 107 minutes. Now, you could have had the ability to fill out the form that everybody has in front of you. So for the public's benefit here, there's two sections to a FOIA request. And I have this posted online on Facebook for anybody that wants to see it. One section is labor costs to locate, and the next section is employee labor cost for separating exempt from non-exempt material, which is redacting. And for the redaction, Mr. Bell put, it only took him 30 minutes to redact how long was it? 55 minutes on one body cam and another 45 minutes on another body cam. That only took 30 minutes to redact. How is that possible? How did you review all of that and redact that in 30 minutes?
Would I have a chance to rebut?
Yes.
Is up there?
Yes.
I will answer that in a rebuttal.
I mean, you got a microphone right there. Just switch it over to you. It makes it a lot less, just for time's sake.
You have the floor, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead and finish, Mr. Elfrank, and then
Okay.
you can respond.
Fair enough. And because your office, as clerk, as FOIA coordinator, is in city offices, it is not in the police department as a clerk and as a FOIA coordinator, I don't think it's relevant to say that you were the lowest paid employee at the police department. I think what's relevant to the law is the lowest paid employee in city offices where you work. And there's obviously people in that office that are perfectly capable of finding that file. Are they capable of redacting it? Maybe not. But that's when you come in and put your 30 minutes in to review close to 2 hours of information, and it gets done, I suppose. But yeah, a lot of things aren't quite adding up. The numbers aren't adding up. The explanations aren't adding up. There's a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff going on. It's all very, 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 very fishy, this whole experience with these FOIA requests since my last city meeting of simply inquiring questions with Mr. Atkins. Everything has kind of really, really went downhill with my relations with the city simply for asking questions, which really is my job. What I was elected to do was to ask questions. That's what got me the seat in this first place. That's what I learned from Lisa Hendrick there, was to ask questions. And I know the public appreciates when people inquire and ask questions. And I actually did a poll on Facebook recently where 77 people responded, 100% of the people responded saying that asking questions should never be misconstrued as a complaint, and that's what's to promote good government. And I also sent an email explaining my position to Mr. Atkins and apologizing for the miscommunication. He didn't respond.
Mr. Bell, or you want to
If
say anything
How's that?
further? Do you want to clarify anything?
If, as long as he's done with his
Yeah, well, I had a
rebuttal to my,
question.
or you're done with questions, absolutely. Whenever you're ready for me to speak, I'll speak.
Did you actually read the labor costs to locate, the whole section in here? Where it says in the second paragraph, the city of Marine City will not charge more than the hourly wage of its lowest paid employee capable of searching for, locating, and examining the public records. So it's not just finding the file on the computer somewhere.
Okay.
They have to examine it also.
But what was the definition of exam?
Watching it, wouldn't that be the definition of it? You'd have to watch the whole.
I mean, that
107
could be
minutes?
debated, right? I mean, examining could be simply examining to make sure it's the right file.
How would you know until you watched it?
That's what I'm saying, examining the name of it, like body cam footage from
I could call a
so-and-so
file
date.
anything you want.
Yeah, you could, you're right.
And I can rename
But I'm
it.
assuming city offices would be, organized and have an actual name and date.
But it says they have to examine.
I'm sure
the
Chief
file.
Heslop could attest to the
All right.
body cam footage having a name to it, and that would be the examination. And then once the redactation comes into play, that's when Mr. Bell would come into place. And I had a conversation with Chief Heslop I won't bring up, but
All right, you can have your own opinion.
All right, anybody else on the board before Clerk Bell responds? Any other questions? Mr. Hillfrank?
regarding third party, Jim.
Okay. All right, if you're all set, Mr. Hillfrank, then Clerk Bell can respond.
I'm going to step up here if you don't mind. So to answer one of Mr. Hillfrank's questions of, I think originally he asked, in what offices do these take place? As you're all aware, and Commissioner Ross, I think had mentioned at the last meeting, I am doing dual roles right now. So I am the city clerk and I still am working at the police department. This one is unique here with this FOIA request because it does pertain to the police department. How FOIAs work and how FOIAs have worked in my experience of working for the city is when a FOIA request comes into the FOIA coordinator, which is generally the city clerk, they get forwarded to the appropriate departments to complete that FOIA request. I have done numerous FOIA requests working at the police department as the office manager in my 10 years there that have all come through the FOIA coordinators, which are the clerks. Previously, Chris Baxter and Shannon Adams, both. They forward them on to the police department because they're not capable. They don't have access to any of the police department systems. So to answer that question of what offices is this completed in, simply both. I mean, being the clerk / FOIA coordinator and also the office manager at the police department, it's completed in both. My wage is the same at both of those departments. So charging the $32.29 an hour based on the annual salary, that's what it breaks down to at an hourly rate. So that can be charged in my role as the office manager processing this FOIA request. Again, to argue the appeal of the excessive fees on locating the file, as Commissioner Rohrig pointed out, that it's the lowest paid employee capable of searching for, locating, and examining the public records. This is in our FOIA fee sheet. This is in our FOIA policies and procedures that you as a commission approved, I believe, in March or April, Mr. Davis, if you could correct me. And this is also in the FOIA statute. This is word for word taking from all of those places. So the 107 minutes, again, 55-minute video, 28-minute video, 24-minute video, to examine those as I go through, and I'll walk you through my entire process. I go into our body camera.
Can you speak to the 107 minutes to actually locate it, though?
Excuse me.
That's what I'm concerned with.
I didn't interrupt you, Mr. Hillfrank. If I could have the floor,
I
please.
just want to answer some actual questions. You're going around.
So if I could walk you through the process, and I'll do it quickly. I go into the body camera, in-car camera system. I locate the file based on the date of the request. There are multiple files, obviously, for that date. I find the one in particular that's being looked for by time. It's sorted by date, time, and I look for it there. I then have to watch the complete 55-minute video to extrapolate the exempt from non-exempt information per the FOIA law.
So how did you do
As
the
I
minutes?
do that, as I watch the video, if that's exempt information, I have a notepad and I write down what needs to be redacted in that time frame. Two different pieces. So with this specific request, private residences are exempt under the FOIA law. So if our officers enter a private residence, that is all blanked out. It is exempt. It's redacted. So I mark down the time frame that they're inside a private residence that occurred multiple times during this video. I also mark down if there's any verbal things that need to be redacted, personally identifying information which could invade the privacy of an individual. So I mark that all down. Once that's done, I watch that video. I then go into the 28-minute, 24-minute video and do the same thing. Now we get to the redaction piece of 30 minutes. This is a totally separate thing than watching the video. I already have this information written down, so I go into our redaction piece of that software. I pull out those segments, and I either blur them out or mute or bleep the sound out from it. That portion only does take
about 30 minutes. And actually, this took me about 41 minutes, but according to the FOIA statute, you can charge in 15-minute increments, and you have to round down. So if that takes me 44 minutes, I can't charge for 45 minutes. I can't charge for 3 increments. I have to charge for 2. So that is the need for the 107 minutes to view, mark down what information needs to be redacted and extrapolated exempt from non-exempt, and also the 30 minutes to actually redact that using the built-in software of our camera system, which took approximately 41 minutes. But again, we had to round down. So I believe that answers both or 3 questions that Mr. Hillfrank had. Are there any questions from the commission?
Anybody?
No.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
What are we doing?
Okay, now, anybody from the commission have anything else? Or is there any
So-
motions to be made on the floor?
So Jason, it's your assertion that it took you 107 minutes to locate this file?
Okay. All right,
The
Mr.
question's been asked and answered
Mr. Hillfrank.
multiple times.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So commissioners, your options are to uphold the fee.
I'm actually not Commissioner Hillfrank. I'm just Mr. Hillfrank right here.
Commissioners,
Fair enough.
your options are to uphold the fee based on the explanation of the clerk or grant the appeal. Mike hasn't been specific how much he wants it reduced by, but he's challenging the fee itself.
If I had the rest of the evidence that I was requesting, then I would be able to do that, but I don't have it.
So he's challenging the fee, so you can order that the fee be waived, or you can uphold the fee, or you could do something in the middle. Those are your options. Your clerk has asked that you uphold the fee based on his presentation.
I'll make a motion that we uphold the fee based on the clerk's presentation.
Second. Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Any further discussion? One quick question that I would have before we vote on this. So if Mr. Hillfrank, if it is upheld, and Mr. Hillfrank chooses not to pay the amount on there, then he doesn't get then he would not get the FOIA, the video that he requested.
Correct.
So the only way that he would have access to that video would be if that other person who FOIA'd it, received it, would share that with him.
Sure.
Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to clarify. If he didn't want to pick it up, if he didn't want to pay it. Okay. Any other questions?
So, roll call vote. Mr. Helfrink will not vote on this matter.
I voted for the investigation thing, Bob.
Jason?
Mike, you have a
Could you read the
pecuniary
motion?
interest in this matter. You don't vote on issues.
I obviously had one in the investigation thing. I shouldn't have voted on that either. But that was a bad opinion, too.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner, or I'm sorry, Clerk.
I'm just asking him to read the motion again.
Okay.
The motion was to uphold the fee based on the clerk's presentation.
Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner Rourke,
Yeah, yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Mayor Vandebosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you for your time and consideration, and this will be filed with civil court. Thanks.
What's that? Okay, on to item 12, administrative reports. 12A, city attorney's report.
None.
Okay. Under 12B, the city manager report.
Yes, Madam Chair and Commissioners, I have just a couple of items this evening. One, I want to remind everyone and invite everyone to take the opportunity to participate and support in Maritime Days this weekend. Want to thank the volunteers that have worked very hard to put this together. We had another on-site meeting today to work with their committee, and we're hoping that they have a wonderful event. And if you're out and about, I would encourage you to find the volunteers in their teal Maritime Days shirts and thank them for all of the hard work that they have done and support the cause. Also, second item, we have no word yet on the 300 Broadway grant. We had expected that to be received by the end of July, but we again have nothing yet, so we're going on the no news, maybe good news front, but as soon as we get any information, it will be shared with you immediately. Also looking into some other grant opportunities that have actually come up in the past week or so that have very aggressive timeframes. We're talking now less than 30 days. So working through the process very quickly in hopes that I can have, if qualified for these grants, something in front of this commission at your next meeting for authorization. There are at least 2 right now that seem to be appealing to us, but again, just going through all of the framework of regulations, guidelines, and application process. I've completed working on a draft of the Marina Ordinance, and I will be giving this evening a draft working copy to the city attorney to fine-tune, put in our format, and then hopefully present to the commission at the next meeting as a workshop discussion for your input, with the intention to try to get this for an introduction at the first meeting in September. And then the last that I have, I just want to thank Commissioner Ross for his work and discussion on the bandstand application and process. He and I were rapid fire on some emails. Thank you, Chief Slankster, for the rapid fire back to you and a quick 45-minute review and response. So I will work to make those changes that were presented this evening. It should be a very easy process to plug those in there. And if anybody's interested in renting a very beautiful band shell in a historic center of Green City, please see a City Hall employee near you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Does the mayor marry people?
Yeah.
You have the authority.
I know.
Yep.
Yep, I've already had a wedding before, so.
Oh, we can wrap that in.
Yeah.
A marriage fee and a marriage at the bandstand fee. I like this. Good marketing.
All right, and any, for 12C, any additional reports from department heads? Any? Okay, on to item 13, Commissioner Privilege and Liaison Reports, and we'll start with Commissioner Clausen.
Well, I hope we have good weather and everybody supports the Maritime Days. It's back and going, so it's in the Rotary Park. And it looked like it's going to be a good affair. We got the fireworks coming up. I was over there for the Rotary, setting up the Rotary trailer so they could sell. They want to use that as an office this afternoon at 1 o'clock, which was, it was quite warm about that time when you're trying to set up a trailer. And, but otherwise, everything else, everybody be safe over the weekend and remember not to drink too much of that beverage.
All right, Commissioner Bryson?
First is I'd like to apologize for having to run out of here so quickly at our last meeting. The power had just gone out at my business. Unfortunately, I had to run and get generators online so the dock lights would be on before it got dark and the boats could keep going. Other than that, I wish everyone have a fun time and a safe time at the Maritime Days this weekend. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Hilfrank?
Okay, I apologize, it's gonna be a little bit long. But first I'm gonna talk to the people in attendance here, because there was, some claims that my behavior at the last meeting was disrespectful. And I never meant it to be that way. In fact, there was gonna be a meeting between Scott and I afterwards, and he declined to take that meeting. And that's one of the reasons we have a closed session set up for tonight. But I did send him an email trying to smooth things over. I did try to sit down with him on 3 separate occasions. Commissioner Hendrick tried to arrange those as well. He declined all of them, even after I sent him the email I'm about to read. Mr. Atkins, after listening to the meeting audio, specifically the portion of our discussion on the Life Center property purchase, I would just like to clear up some misperceptions that it is my understanding have been interpreted as inappropriate. Firstly, I'm very taken aback at the defensive nature and tone that you took with me for simply communicating my meeting experience with Suzanne, that's the superintendent, and of the school board, or the East China Schools. and the result of those calls and meetings. And I will be the first to apologize for what seems to be assumptions by yourself that I thought you were lying. That was never my intention. And for you to offer for me to see your emails wasn't necessary for me at all. I just was attempting to communicate for the second time, first being at the ARPA workshop, that through my meetings, it was already realized the board was interested in selling the property as they had already reviewed the lease with Suzanne and nothing in the lease precludes the sale of the property. Also communicating that all she needed was a formal proposal to take to the board. So I was very confused when you communicated that they may or may not be interested when I had already said at the ARPA meeting they were. And it was my understanding at that meeting that a proposal was going to be put together. We would review it, and then you would get it sent to Suzanne and or the board president. Unfortunately, I was cut off by yourself after you seemed to get extremely frustrated because I was doing your job, your words. When I am simply trying to cut through initial red tape and expedite the process, I'm just trying to help. As I've stated at numerous meetings, I'm willing to do phone calls, research, or whatever, as I also told Jim in the past. When Jim was intern CM is when those meetings were initiated with the school superintendent, which I did so because under Jim, nobody had an issue with me inquiring on various things, including phone calls with Bill Watch, the owner of Kmart Plaza, who Lisa Hendrick actually recommended I do, about the feasibility of a dispensary being located there, which, oh, it was there, I didn't know it was written, which Lisa recommended that I do.
All I gave you was his number.
Okay. When Jim was intern CM is when, oh, I already got that part. There was also no complaint when I called Mary Ellen and informed her of the dire nature of the accuracy of our books, which she had no idea of and, as you know, was happy to help. I made that call for two reasons. One being, we all knew Jim was struggling to juggle both his positions, and another being, I kept being told the call was going to be made, and I inquired multiple times over 2 weeks if that call was made, and it was never gotten to. So I felt, okay, I have time, I'll just give her a call. And Jim was extremely appreciative of me for making that call as communicated in a text conversation with myself. But under your administration, it seems as if you don't want any of the commissioners' help on things, even though we all know how busy you are. And not only has it been made obvious you don't want the help, but that helping actually offends you, which I do not understand at all. Why was a commissioner's help under Jim welcomed, but under yourself it creates friction and has made you feel as if your performance of the job is being challenged? Again, that was not my intention at all. I think you misconstrued my frustrations with how slow government moves with frustrations with your performance as our CM. Second, in the future, I hope we can remain cordial in the public meetings. As you know, it is public, and they expect better from us. And the conversation did become uncivilized at the point you said that I was doing your job for you. And I think that is another misunderstanding that I hope we could have discussed after the meeting as you desired. But you chose to rescind that offer to meet with me when I approached you after the meeting, which I am still struggling to understand why you decided to schedule a closed session meeting for what could have been easily resolved between us. In closing, I sincerely hope that we can still have a professional working relationship, but please, in the future, try to understand that what got me elected in the first place was because I was always asking the tough questions, not an attempt to insult, but simply to ensure that accountability and transparency were paramount. And I can't do the job I was elected to do without asking those questions. And to quote Bob's recent opinion, the city manager serves at the pleasure of the city commission, which I am obviously a part of. I understand I am only one commissioner and never have and never will direct anyone how to do their job. That would have to come from the whole board. But we as a commission would have a real hard time asking questions as a chorus of four, as that is what seems is the only way is acceptable to inquire on things without them being considered a complaint. And I am saying that in jest, as it obviously is unrealistic and ridiculous. It makes me feel as if I should just sit down in my chair on the board and shut up, and that's not fair. And again, not what I was elected to do. I appreciate the job you are doing and the mess you willingly walked into, and I sincerely hope that you will continue helping out our fine city and can respect my job as well. And my job is to represent residents and their concerns who communicate those concerns to me like any good commissioner would, along with helping move the city forward as expeditiously as possible, while of course operating within the charter and rules procedures of a commissioner. Thank you for your time and understanding. Again, I got no reply from Mr. Adkins to that very cordial, very nice, and very apologetic email. I tried my best. Now, on to the rest of my privilege here. As I mentioned, I was elected to ask these tough questions. And I think all the blue-collar workers out there that are watching this meeting that I'm talking to now can appreciate that. I've reached out to numerous of you guys out there throughout this past week, and everybody's been so supportive. Unfortunately, these blue-collar workers are blue-collar workers, and they don't have time to come to these meetings, and that's just unfortunate. So I don't have them here to support me now. But that support, if a hearing is to be coming, which I think it will be there. You know, as I said, I consider myself a patriot. The values and intentions of our founding fathers are just so important to me. The Constitution, most importantly, the First Amendment, right to free speech. I feel like my right to free speech and ask questions is being attacked and censored by some sitting at this table. A quote that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just made, I really, really like. The First Amendment was not written for easy speech. It was written for the speech that nobody likes you for. And I gotta say, I'm not feeling very liked right now. But that speech should be protected and appreciated. I also know that there are 3 commissioners at this table who learned this job. Sorry. From one person. And that is the Honorable Rita M. Roerig, which is Lisa and Rita's mother. Now, she always asked tough questions. She always inquired on things. She always held the city manager accountable. This was Nagy at the time. And I went back and I found some voice articles from 2000, I think she started in 99, and then she was on the board to 2006. I might be off a year there. But through her entire time of the 8 years on this board, she asked the tough questions. She did exactly what I was doing at the last meeting that I'm now being attacked for. And I even have some quotes here from the voice articles that she had commented on. The first one being here. I feel the ball was dropped somewhere. I know MDOT gives you, this she's referring to City Manager Nagy, the information ahead of time. I feel an injustice has been done to the businesses in our city, by our city, Roerig said. I want to personally apologize to those business owners. Roerig also argued the city should have sought to borrow money to upgrade infrastructure, namely water mains, while the street was torn up. City Manager Michael Nagy stated the idea was considered early on, but wasn't deemed feasible. Roerig told him he still should have brought the proposal to the board. Again, these are all quotes from The Voice, if anybody would like to look them up. Secondly, Commissioner Rita Roerig asked if all the proper procedures for condemning and evacuating City Hall had been followed. She stated that according to her review of the city's charter, the mayor doesn't have the authority to declare an emergency. Bukowski stated he didn't call an emergency. I just want to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's, Roerig said. That's a common quote that Lisa uses. Bricks have been falling off that building that could kill people for years, said Keith Jenkin, owner of North Bay Building Company in Marine City. Commissioner Rita Roerig questioned the procedure that followed, which led to the call to abandon the building. There was no meeting of this commission before it was done, Roerig said. An emergency meeting of the commission should have been called. Roerig asked aloud who made the call to evacuate the building. I did, City Manager Michael Nagy asserted. Next thing, there was this is when she actually lost the election because there's a strong concerted effort against her because of her quote-unquote negativity, when really it's just asking questions and promoting transparency and accountability, which both Lisa and Rita were taught. There was a very big campaign against me. They painted me all over town as negative. We've got to get rid of this negative person. They don't see the difference between someone trying to point out problems in the city and negativity. That's exactly how I feel. Roerig would often question how money was being spent, how budget amendments were being tracked, and other details at commission meetings. And then she goes on to say, I feel sorry for the people who voted for me. I think those people understand my frustration and understand what I was trying to do, to speak for them on their behalf. That's my only disappointment. I gotta say, I'm feeling really, really the same right now. Lastly, after she had lost her spot on the commission, she goes on, "I'll be up there bugging them, asking the questions. They aren't rid of me yet." Marine City resident Rita Roig brought up other concerns about purchasing the equipment at the October 2nd commission meeting. The playground equipment is made with the additive polyvinyl chloride. Roig said it contains cancer-causing carcinogens that would not be allowed in playground equipment. And this is a quote from our rec department head at the time, Lynn Zarowski, I believe is her name. "Playworld is scheduled to begin producing their playground equipment without PVCs inside." So her inquiries got a direct answer for the public, and let them feel better that there's not cancer-causing agents in the playground equipment. So I'm going to ask that the two people on this commission who learned these values from their mother to consider, when we come to closed session for the third closed session, that we need a 2/3 vote to proceed. And just ask yourself, what do you think your mom would do in this situation? Now, to the poll numbers. One more for you. I think this one's for me. I think there's enough there. Should be 7. So I did a poll on the Marine City page, which I don't admin anymore. This is actually not my page, so I can't be attacked for that. I have a quick and easy question for all you amazing MC residents out there. Essentially, it is a question of whether asking questions at city meetings should be considered a bad thing or ever labeled as a complaint. Should asking questions about bid processes or inquiring on progress of projects or pointing out other issues in the city be considered negative? And you see right on the bottom there's 73 votes. Not a single vote. 73 votes said no, pointing out issues is good government. Not a single vote said yes, pointing out issues can be negative. So this is the public's opinion, and I appreciate everybody out there for participating in that poll. That's awesome, thank you. I mean, politics are dirty. Politics are heated sometimes, and that should be okay. I'm not sure if anybody here has recently watched the censorship hearing with Robert Kennedy. You see the heated discussions and at times childish comments being made at those hearings. But is anybody promoting a closed session hearing to discuss them? I don't think so. It just seems, it seems odd to me. You know, I actually watched some of the Roseville meetings, Mr. Atkins, and during those meetings, you were also asked questions, and you didn't seem to have a problem with those questions. So I'm a little confused about why my questions are all of a sudden a problem. In closing, public out there who I know still support me, know I was elected, I was a top vote getter for asking these questions, please continue to support me so I can do my job for you. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Ross.
First, just wanted to offer our thoughts and prayers for somebody who was a victim of the electrical issues that happened during the last storm, and our thoughts go out to that family. That was a terrible thing to have happened, and hope these storms cease. I hope everybody, on a happier note, goes and has a great time at Maritime Days. It should be very exciting. Go see the Arts and Crafts Fair at Old City Hall. That should be really nice. Congratulations to all those who participated in both the Port Huron to Mackinac and Chicago to Mackinac races. Lots of success by local Michigan people. That was very, very cool. I was excited to see on our agenda so many people volunteering to sign up for the social district. I think it's really great that our downtown businesses are becoming involved in that and appear to appreciate the commission, making that social district happen. The grant that Scott had alluded to, he mentioned 2, but I actually, it's not a third, but I believe it's one of them that actually specifically targeted for community buildings, community centers. So if the other one doesn't come through, This one was actually for more money, very exciting, and could match, I mean, almost to a T with what we want to do with that building. So very, very exciting there. Yes, that's all I had. Thank you so much. Everybody be safe this weekend. Enjoy the fireworks. Enjoy the social district responsibly.
It's not.
I mean, I know it's not going on, it's not right, it's not ready, but I'm saying for the future, when it becomes enabled, please enjoy it responsibly.
We're ready.
Commissioner Rourke.
I'd just like to tell everybody to enjoy the Maritime Days safely and enjoy the fireworks tomorrow night. Hopefully, we won't have any more storms. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, Commissioner Hendrick.
All right. You know, my mom is a tough cookie. She's still around, contrary. But she did ask tough questions, but she followed the process. She followed the rules. She followed the charter. And
So
there's she's certain things that you can and cannot do even as a commissioner, and she followed that. So there is differences. So besides that, the Maritime Days coming up. Let's go out on a lighter note. The Boy Scouts are having their car show on Sunday. It's in front of the Holy Cross Church. Make sure everybody comes out and sees all the cars. It's going to be fun. I think the church is having a pancake breakfast, and I think they're also having one at the Maritime Days. So lots of food going on down there. It should be lots of fun. And I think the fireworks are Friday night, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so tomorrow night, see the fireworks. It'll be nice. So let's all have a good time.
Thank you. All right, first, I wanted to thank everybody out there for their.
No, she did her.
Already spoke.
Oh, she did? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
she did.
She was looking at you like I'm sorry. Apologize.
Want to thank everybody for their support and condolences during my mom's recent hospitalization and then passing away. And I did want to thank our city employees, the city leadership, department heads, administration staff, all the employees, because one thing when I was busy down multiple days in Detroit and Ann Arbor with my mom, I knew the city was in good hands. And just out of routine, I would call and check in with people and things. And I had a couple citizens come to me with issues that I immediately reported into the city manager. And having the people that we have now in the places that we do and not having to worry about that stuff and knowing that I would be contacted if needed immediately really took a weight off of me during that time. And I wanted to also say, please, everybody, go and support Maritime Days, support the committees. They did a great job. I wanted to thank them, and please come out and show your support. And lastly, I want to call for a special working session, special meeting next week. I think we really need to focus on working relationships with the commission, the commissioners, our administrative staff and services. We need clarity and guidance and a full discussion and an open session with everybody. So I wanted to kind of poll the commission on your availability next week, looking at possibly Wednesday be available. I want an open session for discussion on the relationships of, again, the commission, commissioners, administrative services, staff, and employees of the city. I think that's something that I had asked about in a workshop a long time ago. And I think that waiting for the future for another workshop, we didn't need to take care of it now. So next week, would everybody be available, or how would we be available for that?
It's the 9th.
The 9th?
Yes.
What time?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 9th of next week.
What
Yeah.
time?
Please.
Whatever works best, 6 or 7. And this is for all of us to get together and go over this.
And this is open session.
Open session.
So are we still doing the closed session tonight?
Yes, this is about the relationship as regards to the charter. I think the closed session, if I'm correct, is more in accordance to city manager performance.
Well, we got 3 of them. One is for the attorney's opinion having to do with the charter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that one would be relevant to your discussion.
and then the park property, and then the city manager. So this one, I want open session. Would Wednesday, the 9th work for everybody?
Yeah.
It's good.
What time though, again?
Did we have any time issues?
It's 7 o'clock.
7?
Honestly, I'd have to go home. I don't keep my stuff on the calendar here. It's written at home. It's just a habit of mine, so I have to confirm, but at this point, I don't believe I have any conflicts.
Okay.
So you want to do it earlier, 6 o'clock?
Would that work? Would 6 o'clock work
For
for
me?
everybody? Yeah, you or Jake?
No, I would rather keep it 7,
7?
to be honest.
Okay.
I can do either.
Okay. Bill, are you good with that?
As far as I know,
Okay. Brian?
unless I get a ZBA or
7?
planning commission.
Okay. Would that work for schedules?
Yep.
On there?
We're all good
7?
down here.
Okay, so Wednesday, 7 would be a special meeting for that then.
We'll post it accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and now with that, can I get a motion to go into closed session? For the items A, discuss attorney's written legal opinion in accordance to MCL 15.268H. Then B, to consider the purchase or lease of real property in accordance with MCL 15.268D. And the third topic is periodic performance evaluation of city manager per employee's request in accordance with MCL 15.268A.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session if we could have a short break.
Okay,
Support.
we have a motion and support. Any other discussion?
Do we have to do like close, then go back to open, and then close, and then go back to open, then close?
No.
No.
No, because
No.
we went,
We
read
just-
them all.
All
Yeah.
closed, then you go back into open.
We can do them all, okay,
Yep,
okay.
okay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I do have one more comment. I see, because these are being put together, it's difficult for me to comment on all three, because I have no problem with the first two, but I do have a problem with the third. So can we separate those?
How do you separate them?
I'm
We're
just,
already in separate things.
We
Maybe
already
There's
got a
3
motion.
separate
well,
items.
this is what I'm saying. like-
Bill Frank, we already have a motion on the floor.
Right, and we're discussing.
We're
We're discussing.
We're to vote on.
We're discussing.
You're trying to discuss what we're going into already.
Right.
We're not
That's what.
We're not supposed to be discussing stuff in closed session.
I'm not discussing, Bill, I'm not
Okay.
discussing the closed session, I'm discussing the reasons for going into the closed session, which I'm allowed to do, correct?
So we have a motion
Yep.
and support.
We've
Okay.
got a motion and support, so.
Okay.
Okay, so the first two,
Can you, hang on.
We're still in meeting, please.
the first two, I have no issues with. The third one, the performance evaluation of the city manager, I do have an issue with, due to his contract saying specifically in section 7, employee shall be evaluated annually or semi-annually. I don't believe it's proper for a employee to demand a performance evaluation from his employer. Imagine if a factory full of workers who their boss said you get a performance evaluation every 6 months, all of a sudden said after 2-3 months, hey, we want our performance reviews, we want our raises. It caused a lot of chaos. And I don't think there's proper procedure that allows for this. But I do understand there's an attorney opinion that allows it. I just don't agree with the procedure. But I just wanted that to be
So
on
you'll
record.
be voting no on the motion.
Is there any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes again.
Mayor Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yep.
Commissioner Hillfrank?
No.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Commissioner Rory?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, now we can take a break.